So, what I'm reading right now, and some other thoughts that I've been having, and some memories, combined to make me think a little bit about the nature of time from the human perspective, not some sort of scientific, hey, what is time, etc. Not really capable of speaking to that effectively, but we often look at our time, right? The time that we personally have available to us, whatever, as something of a most precious commodity. Now I'm a little twisted here because my own beliefs run to the idea that that which is not permanent is worthless. It may be linked to it somehow, but in some ways, we look at, hey, how much time will this cost me to do? When we look at work, we're often paid for the time that we spent. Obviously, a more entrepreneurial type of person will not take that deal. They would rather be paid for the commodity that they're providing. Time as a commodity is kind of a weird thing when you think about it. As humans, some of us are looking to fill our time with something that we find pleasurable enough. A pleasurable time spent with someone has some value, right? Time spent doing something you enjoy has some value. Of course, that all gets kind of thrown into a complexity when, the time that you're trading for your work, right, is also something you enjoy to some degree, any degree, right? And obviously there are tasks and times when work is not enjoyable at all, when it does not, provide any pleasure in exchange for what you're doing. There are times when you're not working, when there's no pleasure involved. For example, if you're sick and lying in bed, that is time spent in misery, perhaps worse than time spent for work, and nobody's giving you anything for it. You don't get a bonus out of having spent time in this misery, except whatever you learn from it. Some people I know used to, on BGG, reflect kind of, a board game, buying a board game and playing it a couple of times is worth and costs about the same as, say, going to a movie or going out to eat or something along that lines. They tried to create some sort of valuation on what's something that they would enjoy to have and what they would get out of it in terms of the amount of time that they spent doing it. Now, this always struck me as really, really weird, and I think I've touched on this in other videos. This always struck me as really weird because when I look at, hey, I was getting paid for my work, for spending my time doing that, why would it make sense for me to pay to expend more of my time? Well, there's the enjoyment factor in it, but again, I kind of enjoy doing my work, certainly at a certain level, probably as much as I enjoy playing games in certain circumstances. Maybe more in general, I don't know. It's not like I'm looking to fill up my time, that I'm willing to spend X amount of dollars per hour to use up my time. I can lie, on my beanbag and do nothing, and time can waste away. And I don't feel like, I've terribly gained anything by doing that, right? I can sit playing Raid and feel like, I'm just wasting time, as it were, right? So, in a sense, I don't think it holds any sort of commodifiable value, really. To me as a person, it's not like I fill my moments with the utmost of enjoyment if I wasn't working, which I'm not now. It's not like I'm seeking to fill them all. It holds this weird sort of place, right? Where it's not like I'm using it for tremendously productive things, yet I'm incredibly jealous of any demands on my time in a way that, in terms of work, I'm not willing to do it without getting paid a certain amount. In terms of using that time and the effort involved, right? Effort is in there too, but there's effort in things that one enjoys as well, that one doesn't regret as much. There's a certain effort in, say, going to the store. But I get something I need or want out of that, right? Going to the store and spending the fruits of the time that I worked on it. It feels kind of alien, right? The fact that, somebody's willing to give me money for my time feels kind of like, why are the humans picking up my shit in a bag? And then they're not treasuring it, they're just throwing it in the trash. What's going on here? Why do they want that? It's as if I don't even really comprehend at all what surrounds this thing that we call so very valuable, but maybe don't treat as valuable in general. And I'm not really sure, obviously, right? Gee, they're picking up my shit. Maybe I should. Uh-oh. Okay, I bumped this on the way in, and I think a cube fell off. Ugh! And cubes are what the game that I'm playing is all about, because I don't understand it any more than I do time. And it's weird because my addiction eats up tons and tons of my time, but I'm getting nothing for it. I don't get pleasure for it. I don't really get accomplishment. I get an evasion of time spent in pain. It dulls the senses to be doing, much like work would. What's kind of weird, I am talking about my addiction to Raid here, is that the time invested, spent, wasted, whatever you want to say, in doing that, it does numb me, right? I don't feel anything until I get up and walk to the kitchen and I'm reminded of things. Different things that cause pain, things I haven't been paying attention to and doing, like, I've got filth around me because I haven't spent my time in correcting those issues. pain in terms of memories, because time spent not, focused on something that takes my mind away from stuff diverts to pain. But then I also look and I'm like, I see the opportunity cost in terms of things that I should have done within those times, right? Just like, well, if the dishes need to be done, I should have spent the time to do that. And then I wouldn't feel the pain about that. But I'd feel other pains instead, perhaps. So it's not really, there's not really any advantage, to completing those kind of maintenance tasks, because nothing drowns it all out. No matter what, the pain is going to be there. Whatever the pain is, the source doesn't really matter. The pain of existence is there unless you numb it with something. And that numbing can come from a lot of different places, right? Like I said, work. It can come from my addiction, my games. It can come from reading. Reading is wonderful in terms of drowning out the basic pain of existence. So in a sense, time is the enemy. Time is the thing that must be burned away. Time is what I'm forced to go through. It's like a purgatory. Until what? Well, until death, right? Obviously. So, if time's a negative in such a way, why not just end it? But then I still feel jealous and like I've wasted my time, and that time is the thing that I should fill with something of value, with something that brings enjoyment to me. But I don't know how. I don't know how, and I kind of never really have. I mean, it's like, yes, there are moments that are so perfect and so beautiful that they're almost painful, right? And then the rest is all sort of this mindlessness or misery, which is pain. The mindlessness can be a diversion that's not unpleasant. Spending time with people. It's not directly unpleasant, but it's almost never, in my memories, something that's, there are some, but it's very seldom something that's just wonderful in and of itself, right? Just so perfect that I look at that time and I say, that was time well used. Now, reading, I do kind of feel that about. And maybe some other things that are kind of wasteful. They're kind of just drowning out the pain, but there's enough to them that I feel like I've done good in some sort of way. I don't really feel all that much of that about most things that I do. And then there are things that generate a sort of, there are time periods spent that you're wound up after them, right? There's an excitement in everything about it. It's sort of an exaltation, but is it actually good? Is it actually pleasure? And that's kind of the best of interpersonal time spent, is that you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I may have laughed so hard that I cried, but was it really worth it? Was it that good? I may have enjoyed the sensual experiences during a period. And that can even be alone, just, waking up, sipping at, a wonderful hot cocoa or whatever. I'm not necessarily, and fully sort of taking an enjoyment in that slice, but I can't really value it afterwards. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm trying to reach for here. I just felt that somehow, by talking about it, although I know that speaking to others is never as useful as like going out for a walk and thinking about a subject and running the monologues through my head. I am loath to spend my time on that now for whatever reason. So I end up just kind of blundering about without an answer to what I'm looking at. Instead, just wasting more time in front of the camera this time.